The United States has historically been the largest emitter of CO2. This is mainly due to its early and rapid industrialization starting in the 19th century, high levels of fossil fuel consumption, especially coal, oil, and natural gas, a strong automotive culture, suburbanization, requiring significant transportation energy, and a historically high energy consumption per capita across industries, housing, and services. China's emissions surged particularly after the late 20th century, driven by rapid industrialization, urbanization, and economic development. Heavy reliance on coal for electricity generation, manufacturing, notably steel and cement, and export-oriented industries has made China the world's largest annual emitter, although per capita emissions remain lower than in many developed countries. Russia's emissions are largely attributed to its energy sector, which is based heavily on oil, natural gas, and coal. The Soviet-era industrial boom established energy-intensive industries like steel, chemicals, and military production. Even after the USSR's collapse, fossil fuel extraction and export continued to dominate the economy, sustaining high emission levels. Germany's emissions peaked during its early industrial period and have remained significant due to its strong manufacturing base, including automobiles and heavy industry. However, Germany has made substantial efforts in recent decades to transition towards renewable energy under its Energiewende program, which has begun reducing emissions. Japan's emissions rose sharply post-World War II during its period of rapid economic growth, economic miracle. Industrial output, electricity consumption, and an initially heavy reliance on oil and later coal and gas for energy have been the key contributors. Following the Fukushima disaster in 2011, reliance on fossil fuels increased as nuclear energy was scaled back. India's emissions have grown mainly in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. As a developing country with a massive population, growing industrialization, urban expansion, and rising electricity demand, predominantly from coal-fired power plants, have driven emission increases. However, India's per capita emissions remain significantly below those of developed countries. Iran's economy heavily depends on oil and gas production. Domestic energy consumption is high due to subsidized fuel prices, energy-intensive industries, and lack of efficiency regulations, leading to elevated emission levels despite its relatively smaller population compared to other major emitters. South Korea underwent rapid industrialization starting in the 1960s, transforming from an agrarian economy into a manufacturing and technology powerhouse. The heavy industrial base, reliance on coal and gas for power generation, and high urban energy demand contribute significantly to its emissions. Saudi Arabia's emissions are closely tied to its oil extraction and refining industries. Domestic energy consumption, including widespread use of air conditioning due to extreme heat and very low energy prices, have contributed to high emissions relative to its population size. Indonesia's emissions are driven not only by fossil fuel consumption, but also by large-scale deforestation, peatland fires, and land use changes for agriculture, particularly palm oil plantations. These land use emissions are a unique but major component of its CO2 profile.